Hey everyone, it's Friday, March 4th, 2022. Welcome to another episode of Live with Virginia NORML. I'm J.M. Padini, the Development Director for the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws and the Executive Director of the State Chapter of Virginia NORML. As always, we're going to talk all things cannabis and the Commonwealth and answer your burning questions live. Let's get right into that General Assembly update that I know you are all so excited for, like Bridge. Bridge? That's a great question. And yes, there is some good news. It's probably not as great of news as people have been used to after the past 2 years of our work in the General Assembly, but you know, we're used to working in these limited opportunity circumstances. So don't despair. I think we just got spoiled after some major progress, and we're still going to keep pushing forward. It's just not going to be as sexy as you're used to. Hey Ryan, happy Friday. Hi Ellie. Hey Jeff. Hi Jack. Thank you, Jack. Hey Charlie, good to see you. All right, so let's talk about the great things that happened. The great things that happened, friends. All right, so you might recall that last week we mentioned that Senator Donovan's bill, Senate Bill 671, had passed the House and had to go back to the Senate for one more, for the Senate essentially to accept the substitute version as it passed the House, which it did. So that happened. This bill is the same now entirely as Delegate Robinson's House Bill 933, and these are the standard medical operations improvement bills that we have had for many years now. We kind of cram everything into one bill that needs to happen to fix the medical program as best we can for that year. And this one does some really impressive things, friends. First and foremost, it eliminates the required patient registration. So a patient will get their written certification from the practitioner, and that'll be it. They won't be required to register with the state and wait weeks and weeks and months to get a card. Don't worry, they'll still have that option if they want. Yes, they will still be able to get a card from Board of Pharmacy if they so desire. They just won't be required to. So I hope you all enjoy that. Hey Fred, good to see you. Hi Tamara, happy to see you. And Cassidy, I hope somewhere, yes, there it is, right there. Listen, since I'm seeing you here right now, Tamara, I'm going to go ahead and take a moment to mention to all of our friends that Tamara's new book, The Human Cost of Marijuana Prohibition, Cruel Consequences, The Human Cost of Marijuana Prohibition, will be available for you all, not only to pick up, but to get signed by the author herself right here in Richmond on March 5th at RVA Cannabis. Tamara will be back next weekend as well at Cultivate Wellness on March 12th. We'll have all those details on Virginia NORML's Facebook as well as on Cruel Consequences Facebook. Check it out. Oh, Paul, I'm sorry that you can't see the comments. Ryan, I'm glad you're happy about that bill passing. Look, I think it is a big deal. And in any other year, it would be a really huge deal to say, hey, guess what? We're getting rid of patient registration. But some other things have been clouding the excitement, the sheer bliss that is eliminating patient registration. Not just legalization, resentencing, record sealing. Look, we got a lot going on this year. And it wasn't good, friends. It wasn't good. Look, Virginians voted in November, and we now have a divided government. And we're sort of in the end of session where the ugliness starts coming out, and you start seeing lots of pettiness, and no one's bills are going anywhere. You know who gets to bear the cost of that? You all, the people that elected them to represent you. So good job. Hi, Vicky. So glad to see you. Hi, Amy. Rick, I'm sorry you're not seeing the comments either. I don't know what's up with that. Hey, Robert. Good to see you. All right, let's talk through these bills. So we'll just stay with the medical bills. So while Senator Donovan's 671 and Delegate Robinson's 933 are done, they're great, they're passed, they're on their way to the governor's desk, where he could be able to expedite the effective date for these bills, or we also might be able to do that in the budget. So while patient registration, first of all, he's going to sign these bills. Second, patient registration can go away on July 1, but there's still a potential for this to get even better and for it to happen sooner. And the two ways would be for either the governor to ask for it to happen sooner with an amendment, or for there to be language in the budget that enables the legislation to take effect sooner. So stay tuned. Hopefully we can get registration to go bye sooner than July 1. That's right. That's right, Ryan. That's right, Ryan. Oh, Bill. Should we get right into that one? Should we just get into what you're here for and what you're all here for? Is to talk about Senator Adam Ebbins' SB 391. If you recall, Senator Ebbins' bill passed the Senate with bipartisan support. A historic vote, bipartisan support. Passed 21-18-1 in the Senate. Then it went over to the House, where it sat around for a long time. A long time. Eventually, the bill got assigned to House General Laws, and specifically Subcommittee number 5. Subcommittee number 5 heard the bill briefly and made the recommendation to continue it to 2023. So, Bill, thanks for asking. They didn't technically vote against it. They just said, whoa, this is a big bill. We didn't have time to read it. We're just going to continue it to next year. That's the same ridiculous excuse that we heard last year when the bill passed on a party line vote and people were super angry on the floor that they didn't read the whole bill. You know who read the whole bill? Yet still not a legislator. Any one of you can read the bill. It's available on LIS. And if you don't want to read it, you can ask a subject matter expert to break it down for you. Perhaps they do it every Friday, live at 4. But I guess excuses are more fun. So, yeah, that's what happened in House Gen Laws Sub 5. The vote was to carry it over. I'm trying to read it was a party line vote to carry it over, 5-3. For any of you who watched that, all 3 of the Democrats in that subcommittee then spoke very loudly about the need for public and consumer safety, which really hasn't been a talking point for anyone until on that final day when suddenly it became about public and consumer safety instead of who gets to make a buck first or next off the backs of consumers. So that's largely what the conversation's been about. Who cares about you all? We just care about who gets to profit off of you first. That sounds neat. So, Gen Laws also killed the bill by continuing it on a party line vote. Look, this bill is not going to come back up in its current state as passed the Senate next year. It's not really what it means. We're going to have to rewrite the whole bill and start over from scratch, because 391 as passed the Senate wasn't good anyhow. But the objective was simply to pass something out of the House so we could get into conference and write the real bill, but y'all never got that chance. Again, elections have consequences. Make good choices, friends. You know, Ralph, I can't see if this is a response to someone else's comments, but I can see it. And I can tell you that we're not okay with mandatory minimums, but that's what we get now because 391 failed. So in 391, as passed the Senate, which I remind you, had the bill made it to conference, it would have changed drastically. But as it passed the Senate, there was a ludicrous proposal of a new marijuana misdemeanor. And NORML's on the record as saying, no, you don't need a new marijuana misdemeanor. But I can tell you why it was in there. It was in there because this section of code was an anomaly then. It went from a civil penalty for possessing over an ounce to a felony. There was no middle ground. It went civil penalty, felony. And that's not how code is in Virginia. There's a step between penalty and felony. And so JLARC recommended this new marijuana misdemeanor. Hundreds of you used our action alert to send a message to lawmakers saying, no new marijuana misdemeanor, thank you. Yet still, it made it into the bill. And so, yeah, the bill didn't pass, and that new marijuana misdemeanor isn't in code. But guess what is? Multiple felonies. Since the bill didn't pass, now I want to make it super clear to you all. Be sure to tag your plants if you're one of the people who is able to cultivate at home for personal use. Failure to properly tag your plants could result in a Class 6 felony. Be sure if you're cultivating outdoors, your plants are not visible from a public way. Why? I'm so glad you asked. Because you could be subject to a Class 6 felony. Why a Class 6 felony? Because there's no punishment specified in code, and when there's no punishment, the default is a Class 6 felony. There are a host of other crimes that would have been amended, moved over to the 4.1 code section from the 18.2 code section. They would have been changed. Penalties would have been reduced, and none of that's happening now. It's all staying over where it was. It's all worse than it would have been under the passage of 391 as it made it off the Senate. Senator Evans' office has put together a great PDF in it of this. You can see all these penalties in the VPM article. I'm sure Cassidy can drop the VPM article in the chat for you all to take a look. I'm going to catch up on your comments now because we've been talking for a minute. Oh, I'm sorry that you're sad. But hey, we still did great things this session. We got a little bit more, a little bit more ways to go. Gonna do stuff in the budget, hopefully. Jennifer, thank you, and you're welcome. I love all these people who suddenly know how to write code. That's cute. There you go. We'll just take a look at Brian's thoughts on there because, he's not wrong. And yeah, we did have multiple approaches, keeping it simple, right? Yeah, that's why we had multiple bills to get something through. And that was our strategy recommendation, not just ours, but other experts who work in this policy area were like, hey, we really ought to have multiple vehicles in both chambers. So we just cross over as many as we can and then hopefully end up with something. That's not what happened. Some people were like, hey, let's just roll it all into one hot mess of a bill and lob that over at the House and see what they do. And then if the House doesn't pass it, that's the House's fault. How's that working out for you, Virginia? You know, just when you go to sleep at night, worried about your plant tags, just remember it's the House's fault. Hey, Conway. That's a great question for Tamara, and I hope she reads it. I'm sure she will. Robert, you don't say. It's almost like people who work exclusively in this policy area and have offered very successful strategies to this body before said, hey, a reenactment is a bad idea. Maybe don't do that. What do you think about that? Yeah, class 6 felony. That's exactly right. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. 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 I'm just going to sit here and say yeah to all your comments. Yeah. Still, yeah. Uh-huh. Woo! Yeah, this is a great question. How seriously will these penalties be enforced? You know, it's going to depend on where you live, what color you are, what gender you are, who likes you, who doesn't, how much money you have. You know, all the regular things that have to do with marijuana policy enforcement. Yeah, it's not even a specified penalty, Ryan. It's just that there is not a specified penalty. And when you don't specify a penalty, the default is a class 6 felony. Good job, everyone. Yeah, no. I almost said yes, but then no. There's no vehicle to do it. Only one bill passed. I mean, the Senate. It went over to the House and went down in a fiery dumpster. Fiery fire. No, there's nothing else. There's no other way to amend this. So that's what it is. Ooh, Angela, we get this question all the time, and the answer is no. No, Virginia is not going to adopt a grower model, a caregiver model. That's from like way back in the Wild West of the early days of cannabis legalization. We're not going to have that here. It is by the skin of your teeth that Virginia has 4 plants. Good thing we did that last year. You're right, Ryan. No one wants to. But some of us are in the room when these decisions are made. And so even if they don't take responsibility, we can still point fingers. Yeah, well, that, first of all, 4 pounds for home possession is a lot of weed, friends. I don't know why anyone is upset about that. But guess what? It doesn't matter. Now you can just get a felony with a pound instead because the bill didn't pass. Oh, William, I'm so glad you asked. That helps me segue to all of that. They're all dead. Everything's dead. They're all dead. So there were bills to address expungement, retroactivity, so that would be for pending cases, resentencing, the data that's sold relating to crimes that have already been, or convictions that have already been sealed. There are third-party companies out there that have your data and they're still selling it, even though those records are sealed. All of those bills are dead. They all died in the House, even though they passed the Senate. Could go through all of them for you if you want. Let's just enjoy this for a moment. Senator Lucas had a record sealing bill. Yeah, that was tabled 6-2 in House Courts of Justice Subcommittee number 1. That's the Criminal Law Subcommittee. It was tabled today. Senator Serval's SB 742 made it to House Courts Subcommittee 1, where it failed to report 3-5. It's a party line vote. The same thing happened with Senator Morrissey's bill SB 105, which was to apply the repeal of I smell marijuana retroactively to cases that are still active. That also failed in House Courts of Justice Criminal Law Subcommittee number 1 on a 5-3 party line vote when they voted to pass the bill by indefinitely. What else? Oh, Senator Serval's SB 745. This was the resentencing bill for those people who are still in jail for marijuana convictions, or who had their nonviolent convictions for other crimes escalated. The penalties were escalated because of previous marijuana crimes. So that bill died in appropriations today on a 12-10 party line vote. The bill was tabled. So yeah, thanks for asking. They're all dead. No expungement, no resentencing, no record sealing, no preventing your data of records that have already been sealed from being sold. Yeah, no retroactivity for pending cases, still using I smell marijuana to prosecute people, even though you can't do that now. It's a good time. Elections have consequences. It's not anything because that bill is dead. It was £4, non-specific. Also, why is anyone assuming that the legislature is so sophisticated that they're indicating a moisture content in plants? They're making up numbers and saying, this sounds like an okay amount. The bill's dead. It doesn't matter what it said. Now it's a felony if it's over £1. Thanks, Robert. We will. We think the best state? I don't know. How about everyone answer this question? This person on YouTube wants to know what the best state you think there is to live in for freedom if you use medical cannabis. It's pretty great in Virginia, as long as you've gotten your registration. That takes a minute. Oh, Michael, thanks so much. Hey, Paul, we've got an action alert for the MORE Act on normal.org/act. If you haven't taken a second to send it, please do. And urge a vote. A vote on the MORE Act is, in fact, what our latest action alert calls for. You all probably got an email about this this week. Did we send it out this week? I think we did. So yeah, we're calling for a vote. Let's bring it up. Everyone likes the MORE Act. You know, there are other bills pending. in Congress that would end federal prohibition, you can send an email for literally any of them. Please do. I don't think our new action alert is actually up for that, but there's one coming, friends. I know it. I know it's coming. I'm actually looking at our website now just to see. Is there anything in there? No, it's coming. Ooh. Hey, Sue, the bill's dead. But yeah, it would have just said marijuana, and that would have been everything. Yes, I'm saying that marijuana laws are enforced with racial bias, racial discrimination, absolutely, in the United States, not just Virginia. Yeah, Robert. Hey, keep us posted. Hopefully, no one's gonna catch a class 6 felony for not having their plants tagged. But you know, I'm sure we're going to see that applied somewhere when it comes to, you know, some other case that's not necessarily specific just to marijuana, but where they're trying to stack charges. I like this one. I mean, yeah, Michael, yes and no. So, I mean, he's not wrong. They could have done a whole lot more last year and they didn't. They should have, and they didn't. So they kind of did leave a mess, but the House didn't do anything to clean it up this year. You know, so just everyone point your fingers in all the directions, and don't worry, the only one who loses is Virginians. So keep voting, kids. Oh, your comment is dumb. Rick, right? Yeah, the General Assembly moves slowly, and I think people got used to it, a little too used to progress in 2020 and 2021. In 2020, we both decriminalized personal possession and made the medical program legal. I think folks forgot that it operated under this kooky affirmative defense model. But that was a big victory in 2020, and then we passed legalization the next year, and people were like, yeah, all the things, and then they voted, and then this is what you get. No, so far, no, Charlie. We haven't heard anything real from the House, House leadership on their preference for cannabis policy. We haven't heard real policy. Oh, hey, someone drop in and answer Brandon's question. We think we've been doing this every week now for a few weeks. How long is it taking? I bet Tamara can tell you what friends have been members of the Facebook group have been saying. I don't even know what this guy's talking about. Oh, all right. Thanks, Michael. Look at how quick that was. Brian says this. Tamara says this. Cool. All right, friends. Did I miss anything great in this script? Probably missed this. Oh, hey, you know what, everyone? Let's all take a minute. Hey, Sherry, happy Friday. Let's all take a minute to say congratulations to Sheba Williams. Sheba Williams is a Virginia NORML board member. She's been on our board for a while now. She is our resident expert on all things related to expungement, record sealing, resentencing, reentry. She's an all-around amazing human, and undoubtedly that is why Sheba was honored as a Richmond history maker. So everyone drop your congrats to Sheba in the chat now. She is a 2022 Richmond History Makers honoree for championing social justice, and wow, does she ever. Sheba will be celebrated along with her fellow honorees during a celebration hosted by the Valentine on Tuesday, March 8th. Literally could not be a more deserving honoree. Sheba does amazing work, not only with Virginia NORML, but with her own nonprofit, No Left Turns. Check out No Left Turns on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Donate. But also, say congratulations to Sheba right there in the chat. Oh, hey, here's some really great news. And I think this is kind of funny because Culpeper County, I guess, wasn't keeping up with the General Assembly, but the county supervisors decided to discuss at their last Board of Supervisors meeting whether or not they should hold a voter referendum on prohibiting dispensaries in Culpeper County. And they didn't vote to hold the referendum. Now, there is still, is it the city? Well, I'm going to open the chat and look it up. Culpeper Town Council. So Culpeper County Board of Supervisors voted 4-3 not to put the question on the ballot about prohibiting retail sales in Culpeper County. However, Culpeper Town Council could still decide to hold its own referendum. There's a great article about that by Allison Brophy Champion in the Culpeper Star Exponent. If you live in Culpeper, take a peek at that. It's the first one I've heard. That's the first locality I've seen vote to whether or not to have a referendum. All right, lots of coverage on 391 crashing and burning. Got some coverage not only on the NORML blog. I think I mentioned earlier that VPM did a great article covering that. Take a listen to that. Also WSLS, WDBJ, and I had a great chat with WHIS, their show What's Next. We talked it for about 15 minutes. You can take a listen to that as well. Hey, Stacy in Culpeper. Hey, RC. We'll let Cassidy pop in and answer this question right here. Cassidy, pop in and answer that question. Yeah. Whew. What can I say, friends? Elections have consequences. Hey, Brandon. Yes. Personal possession of up to 1 ounce, still legal. Personal cultivation of up to 4 plants per household at your primary residence, still legal. Personal consumption in private, still legal. Adult sharing of up to 1 ounce in private, that doesn't mean at a business or at a restaurant, by the way. In private is also still legal. All the things that we were able to pass last year that took effect on July 1, still legal. Anything that required reenactment, it's dead. There is no path forward at this time for the licensing of new businesses. So new businesses, people who are looking to enter the cannabis market, will have yet another year, not only to wait, but for the illicit market to get further entrenched. So, you know, high five to all those folks just, you know, finally finding out about cannabis and being interested in it. But hate to break it to you, who you're really competing against if you're looking to enter the market. It's the $1.8 billion illicit market operators. I know it's super fun to complain about who's already selling cannabis legally in Virginia. And I'll remind you all that if you don't like the medical program, you shouldn't have elected people that enacted that model. It was enacted under a conservative controlled legislature. That's why you have limited licensure, high dollar entry, big barriers to entry for, you know, anyone except for MSOs. Despite those barriers to entry, I'll remind everyone that out of the 5 licenses, 2 of them were awarded to Virginia-based companies. So Virginians actually did pretty well, despite the crazy hurdles that were put in front of them. Yeah, but those companies are only serving, what, like 45,000 people? It's not a $1.8 billion industry there, folks. So. Oh, I don't know if your 4 plants can yield a pound. They can. Listen, the law says on his person or in any public place. So you may possess on your person or in any public place up to 1 ounce of marijuana. That's what's in the code. Law's pretty silent after that. Over 1 ounce up to 1 pound on your person or in any public place would be subject to a $25 civil penalty, and that does escalate. And then at 1 pound, it's a felony. So. Hey, Keith, I know you like to ask this question all the time. Privacy for renters and tourists? Yeah, like inside. If you're renting, you can consume inside a private residence. You could consume on the property, like in the backyard. If you were, let's say you were visiting and you were staying in an Airbnb, you could still consume in that as long as the property owner permits it. Whew. This is some weird stuff going on in the YouTube comments, friends. Do I think they're doing similar things? You know, I think in some ways most states are doing similar things on cannabis policy. Nicole, it depends, you know, like what you're getting at specifically. They're probably doing some things similarly and some things not. But by all means, feel free to be more specific in your question, and I'll happy to answer it if I can. Lloyd, do you mean from consumption? Well, I guess it doesn't matter. How does law enforcement know if it's cannabis or hemp? They would have to send it to DFS for testing. And then depending on the form that the marijuana is in, Department of Forensic Sciences might be able to test it. And if not, then they have to send it out to be tested somewhere else. Rick, not at all. They're not going to be handled in any way because there is no code that exists for it. We'll see. We'll see what happens if we can pass a bill next year. There's no taxes now, so There's no businesses, there's no taxes. There's nothing for it. Now, does the sole reason? The question is, during traffic stop, can law enforcement use suspected odor of cannabis to search? Yes and no. The odor of marijuana may not be the sole reason for law enforcement to stop, search, or seize a person, place, or thing. Doesn't mean they can't use it. It just cannot be the sole reason. So yes and no. Hey, Zeb. Depends entirely on the employer. So there are employment protections extended to medical cannabis patients once they are employees. But when it comes to the application process, if you're not an employee, there are no employment protections extended. We would have introduced legislation to expand the employment protections and hopefully have moved away from pre-employment drug testing altogether. But then Virginians voted in November, and then it became absolutely a non-starter with that piece of legislation. So it doesn't exist. The pathway forward for that. So yeah, that's what I've got to tell you. Oh, hey, thanks for all these things, Cassidy. You're the best. Friends, it's March, and that means it's time for Shamrock the Block here in Scott's Edition. Would love for you to come volunteer. If you've already volunteered for Virginia NORML before, great. Can't wait to have you back. If you haven't, now seems like a great time. It's a super fun event. We have a tent out on Boulevard. Lots of people come, lots of kids, lots of dogs, lots of folks having a good time. We do need volunteers to help staff the event. It runs from 12 to 6 on Saturday, March 12th. There is a free t-shirt with your name on it. First-time volunteers. If you'd like to volunteer, please just go ahead and shoot us an email at info@virginianormal.org. Hey, Tamara. Nope, I remembered. I also believe that we are looking for volunteers for an event in the Hampton Roads area. Tamara, remind me if I'm incorrect, but I think it is on Saturday, the 26th. Nonetheless, you can just shoot us. Thank you. Norfolk. We're looking for some volunteers to help Tamara with an event in Norfolk on the 26th. You can shoot us an email on info@virginianormal.org. Whether you want to volunteer here in Richmond on the 12th or there in Norfolk on the 26th, send us an email. Saturday, April 23rd and 24th. Whoops, my bad. Hey, if you want to help Tamara with an event in April, send us an email. That'd be great. Don't worry, we're gonna post that on our Facebook soon. All right, boy, wouldn't it be fun if our comments were actually about cannabis policy instead of random other rambling things? Hey, Saul, thanks for tuning in and joining us. It's been great. Oh, hey, B. Clark. Any update on SB 671? I love your specificity in that question, my friend. Thank you so much. Yes, it has passed. It has passed both the House and the Senate, and the Senate accepted the House's amendment, and it is all done like House Bill 933. They're both off to the governor for potential amendments, namely speeding up the timeline or just his signature. And we're hoping that we're going to be able to have the end, going to have the end of patient registration take effect sooner. Think we might be able to do that through the budget or potentially with an amendment from the governor. So there we go. All right, friends, listen, this has been great. I love talking to you all every Friday. Unfortunately, I wasn't locked in the Virginia General Assembly, so I got to spend this time with you again. Listen, let's do this all again next Friday. Let's do it. Let's do it next Friday. And then let's all go to Shamrock the Block and have a good time and celebrate the end of the General Assembly. One of the weirdest sessions we've already had. Yeah, Fred, it is the same day as NCF, but I think Tamara wants to do this thing down in Norfolk. So someone's going to do something in Virginia, and it might as well be Tamara. All right, friends, have a great weekend. I will see you back here next week. If you're watching this after the fact and you have questions, go ahead and drop those in the comments, and we will try to follow up with you over the weekend. I love your comments, guys. You guys are the best. Hey, John, thank you for tuning in. You too, Fred and Kimberly. If you haven't joined NORML yet, now is a great day. Head to norml.org/join. Don't forget to get your Virginia card at vanorml.org/join. Check out the NORML store, store.norml.org. Everyone, have a great weekend. And I'll see you back here next week. Bye-bye.